Well, today we're going to work on the PT Cruiser. Come on. Come on. Come on, girl. That's it. And of course we got to let the chickens out. These babies here. Oh, come on. Come on. Hey, coming back for a second try. There we go. Whoop. Come on. There we go. Last one. This one's always a little cantanker. She likes to jump out on her own. There we go. Alright, we gotta let the chickens out so they can wander around and enjoy the day while I'm working on the PT Cruiser. There we go. Of course, yeah, just follow. Well, anyway, we're gonna replace the brake pads on the front of this 2003 PT Cruiser. They are definitely worn down. They made some noise the other day I didn't like, so I'm gonna take care of that today. And I thought, well, while I'm at it, I will also take care of the engine mount, the lower engine mount on this thing on the other side. We'll get to that in a little while. And if you got something you can lay across your tire when you take it off, that'll make a nice little seat for you. Now, what you got to do, now people do this different ways. I'm not saying this is the correct way, this is just how I do it. A lot of times I'll get this caliper to, I'll get a screwdriver in there like this, and I'll get it to move over like this, especially if I'm replacing the disc here. And since I am, well then I don't care if I scar it up a little bit, but I'll get that screwdriver in there and you can see how that kind of loosens it up. You want to, there's a little piece back in there where that applies the pressure, and in there, and if you just kind of pull on it, pull it out as far as you can, it'll just make it easier on you while it's all attached, or it does for me anyway with this bum arm. Some people will take them off and then get that cylinder to go back in right there, but yeah, there's different ways of doing it. I'm not saying this is the right way. This is just what I do. Okay, then I'll take this bolt right here off, and this one down here, and this piece right here will come off. And then, because I'm replacing this, I will also, there's some bolts back here on both top and bottom that I will take out, and then this piece will come off, and then I can replace this. Of course, don't forget to include your animals while you're doing all this. Ain't that right, Patches? Yeah, she's coming after you. You better run. Here she comes. Oh, smart girl. You jumped right up there. I don't know why this one, she don't like them cats. She goes after them all the time. Kind of funny. Okay, so these two bolts right here are 12 millimeter. I already busted them loose. Or loosening them. As you can see, I put a tarp under here. I forgot to mention that because I'm working in the grass. That way if I drop any bolts or anything, I can find them easier. Here are these two that I took off to get the caliper off right here. And these are the brake pads that I'm going to be replacing as well. Next I'm going to take this one loose. This whole piece here. I could have done it all together, but just make it easier to do it in sections like this anyway, because I got to replace the brake pads. And let me tell you what, it's a good thing I didn't keep driving this. There ain't much pad left there. I drive a road that's not, it's very steep, so you need good brakes. Okay, so this ended up being an 18 millimeter for these bolts right here. It says 19 on this wrench. I think that's one of the reasons I got them fairly inexpensive. They're marked wrong. This side says 18 millimeter, but it's actually bigger. As you can see, it doesn't do anything, so they just swapped the numbers on it. So anyway, it's 18 millimeter for those two bolts. So now I got that piece off, and as you can see, there ain't much brake left there. It's a good thing I didn't put this off any more than I did. It is definitely time to replace them. Now this, sometimes if it's on there solid, you can just take a rubber mallet or hammer to it. But this one's obviously loose, so it won't be hard to take off at all. We'll just pull it right off with the bum arm, and looky there, we got it off. No big deal. And we'll get the new one out, get the new pads out, put all this back together, and we're done. So there's the new rotor plastic bag, whoops. And then here's the new brake pads, and as you can see, if you compare them, kind of comical, well, not really, but you can see, yeah, definitely needed to replace them. They were down to just almost the metal there. There wasn't a whole lot left on there. It didn't even look like there's anything left there, but anyway, we'll have nice new brakes, and when I get this side done, I'll be done with this side, and then a motor mount and all that other on the other side. I'm going to clean these up. There's these little metal pieces that go in here. You want to be sure those stay in place, or you put them back in there. Of course, I'll clean all this up. Way everything works properly. That's supposed to slide, see, like that. See how that does. It's supposed to, when you apply the brakes, it allows that to move. So we'll clean that up. Okay, so I clean these shafts up, and then you need to re-lubricate them, and they go right back in there, and then you'll pull that rubber boot off, or pull that rubber boot over the edge here so that it reseals everything up. But that'll help this move better, and since you got it all apart, it's just better to go ahead and take care of all that, make everything run smoother, etc. So there you go on that one. In case I failed to mention that earlier, it's always a good idea, since you got it all apart, just to go ahead and clean that as well and re-lube it, put it all back together so you can see how it kind of bounces there. Well, when I pull that rubber over there, it'll seal it so dirt can't get back in that shaft. Okay, we got everything back together. I'll put the wheel back on there. I found a loose wire in that plastic, so since I'm taking care of this right now, I might as well take care of that grounding wire for whatever reason, and then that piece of plastic that's pushed back up in there. But this side is done. New rotors, new brake pads, all cleaned up, ready to go on this side, driver's side. Okay, now I'm working on the passenger side, and this plastic piece right here goes back up into here. There's two bolts, one right there. Anyway, there's a hole there, and there's a hole there on that plastic piece, and they go back up in here around this area here. So you'll need a 10 millimeter to get those loose. I went ahead and took these out. I put it back in to get it out of my way right now, but it made it easier to get to the one bolt that was right here. And as you can see, this motor mount is definitely bad. There's all the rubbers wore out on it. So when I get done doing the brakes, I'll replace that motor mount. But I wanted to get this plastic stuff out of my way first. And of course this side, same thing with the brakes. You take your 12 here, take these two loose, pull this off, and then you'll take your 18 for this one and pull it loose, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. The brake pads on this side weren't so bad, but I've also got to replace a the lug nut twisted off and it broke the stud on that, so I'm going to replace this stud as well while I'm doing this one side. Okay, so this little spot here is where you got to line the busted up lug nut or lug bolt so that you can get it out. Well, I don't have a way to drive it back in. I got it out okay, the old one. So I put the new one in and then put it in neutral and move this back so that this bolt, this right here, would help keep the pressure against it. And once I put the new wheel on and put the wheel back on and tighten everything back up, this should pull on in, and then it'll press it in for me, and it saved me some trying to bang it in there or anything. There's just not much room there. Anyway, that's one way to do it, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, this part of the lower motor mount is a 19 millimeter, and then this one over here is a 15 millimeter. And then these are the chickens helping me out here. And there comes a big bird over there. She thinks something's up. Changed her mind anyway. These and this one here is a 15 as well, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen these all up. You can see I got the brakes all back together, the new rotor. I put this on here just to make sure that bolt doesn't move on me, the lug bolt, so that I don't have any problems tightening it up here in a little while in case I bumped it or whatever. But all this is done. Now I'm going to get this mount changed out. Oh, I failed to mention too, I've got a jack. I'm going to get up under there and I'm going to support the, let me get around over here. I'm going to support the engine right up in there so that when I get this mount all loosened up, I'll be able to move the engine around. I don't know to what degree that's going to affect things, and I really don't want to get things in a bind. So brakes are all done. Now the engine mount, lower engine mount. Okay, so I got that bracket off of there, right there. Like I was saying, the 15 millimeter takes that bracket loose. Well, then you can get to the bolt that holds the back part of that motor mount, and that is a 18 as well. Let's see, this is that goofball wrench that does the opposite. Yeah, so that's actually 19 on that end, and this is actually 18 on this end. So this one is a 19 millimeter, this one is an 18 millimeter. Okay, so I got that one bolt loose and it dropped down. Any problem, that one's already loose too. I'll just get it undone, and then that mount will be out. As you can see, the engine is supported with the jack. Hopefully nothing moves, and it'll line all right back up with the new one. So here's the old motor mount next to the new one. Now here's the new one. You can see I'm trying to move it. My bad hand, arm, whatever. And then look at this one. Yeah, that one was just gone. I could almost pull that out. Pretty bad. So anyway, I got the new one in. The back part of it wasn't, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'll get this new one put in, and that ought to get rid of some shaking. So there we go. That motor mount's all back into place. I'll put that plastic cover back in there, get my other wheel on here, and I'll be good to go again. So no matter who you are, lady or gent, I guarantee you can figure out how to fix just about anything once you set your mind to it. If I can do it, I know you can. Ain't that right?